Hey everyone, Dr. Steve here, and today I'm uncovering the lies of the big federal banking system with a dear friend of mine, Michael Lush, and he absolutely blew me away. You are not going to want to miss this. Michael is helping people pay off their death pledges to the federal government in 7 years. I mean, it's not a joke, and he's actually showing them how to create their very own personalized economy. Click on that link in the description to learn more, and let's get into it. All right, everybody, we are back, and of course, we're still here in Phoenix, Arizona for the American Freedom Tour, and I found an old friend here that you guys have seen a few times on our channel, Michael Lush. Michael is an expert in what's known as replacing your mortgage with a HELOC loan. It's really fascinating stuff. And so he's going to get a little bit more into that, talk about why he's here. So, Michael, how did you come to discover this whole replace your mortgage paradigm?
Yeah. So actually, it was a wealthy friend of mine, a wealthy mentor. So I was a longtime mortgage guy for 17 years, and the company I worked for actually went bankrupt. And when we were being resurrected, we got our capital from a hedge fund. So the managing partner of the hedge fund would mentor me because he felt if he mentored me, he got his money back faster, right? So as he was mentoring me, I took an opportunity to try to get in his sphere of influence. And I said, look, I do mortgages. I do them well. So why don't you introduce me to some friends, and I can offer them mortgages, big mortgages or big paychecks, and then you get your money back faster. And that's when he hit me with it. He said, well, my sphere of influence, we don't do mortgages. So I thought, pay cash for everything, right? He said, no, quite the opposite. We always use other people's money, but one of our favorite products is a first lien position home equity line of credit. And everything I'd been taught for 17 years is a HELOC is like having a credit card on your home. It's not something you want. It's bad. Credit cards are bad, right? Well, actually, nothing could be further from the truth for a responsible, disciplined person who understands money. And so when he hit me with this strategy, I took a year to try to prove him wrong, hired a CPA, actuary, and because what he told me was having a mortgage is like having financial crack or giving financial crack to middle America. And so that didn't sit well with me. So I wanted to prove him wrong. And the more I tried to prove him wrong, he was right. And then it eventually led to me consulting all my clients of how they should get a home equity line of credit because I'd done thousands of mortgages at this point. Now I felt bad, and I'm like, I got to go right the wrong one family at a time. So I'm going to telling them that they need to, transfer everything to a home equity line of credit. And then another friend said, you need to turn this into a consulting business. And then the rest is history.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Speaking of friends, you have somebody here who has a really interesting backstory to all this. You want to introduce him?
So sitting to my right is Edmund, and Edmund is one of our rock star clients. He first started off as a client. Now he's a partner in my business. So I'll let Edmund kind of share his story of how he went from being introduced this strategy from your mortgage broker to now rising through the ranks and even becoming a partner in the business.
Absolutely. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. So it was about 5 years ago, my wife and I were looking to refinance our mortgage, and I was talking to a mortgage broker friend of mine, and he just come back from a banquet down in Florida and said, you know what, I think you'd be a really good candidate to look into this company called Replace Your Mortgage and use a first position home equity line of credit. And I blew him off. I thought it was too good to be true, and he told me to download this book. I downloaded the book, I read it, and it just made complete sense to me. So that's when I booked my discovery call with Michael about a little over 5 years ago. And the rest has kind of been history with that because once we first started, it took probably a year, and we paid off close to $50,000 of consumer debt that we had, my wife and I. And then it really kind of opened up opportunities because when having access to a first position line of credit, you have access to the equity in your home to build wealth. So a lot of people assume that Replace Your Mortgage just teaches people how to replace their mortgage and pay off their home quickly. In fact, it couldn't be further from the truth. They teach a lot more financial strategies, and one of them being real estate. And real estate was something that I got involved in about, I would say, a little over 2.5 years ago, utilizing my first position line of credit, and I was able to leave my W-2 job as an assistant principal. So I was a special education teacher for 6 years. I was a high school assistant principal for 9 years. And once I realized, how to create financial freedom using my first position line of credit, the rest has kind of been history. So it's been an amazing experience.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Again, gang, one of the major themes that we've been hearing at this conference is building a parallel polis, building parallel structures, parallel institutions, so as to enable people to live out truth and expose the dominant institutions to be what they are, which is corrupt and perhaps even beyond repair. So these are wonderful examples of how you can do just that. A lot of the parallel polis is actually going back. It's going back to the way we used to do things. And Michael, I remember learning from you that the HELOC is actually the traditional way of paying for a house prior to the rise of the Fed and so on. Can you give a little backside to that?
Yeah, I'd love to. So a mortgage, we'll start off by just the traditional word of a mortgage. It's the root of it is Old French for death pledge. However, you go back prior to 1913, a mortgage actually looked a lot like today's modern day home equity line of credit, but they didn't have a home equity line of credit back then. They just called it a mortgage. The difference is with a HELOC and a mortgage is closed in. Money can only go in and not come out. With a home equity line of credit, money can move in and out freely 24/7. So as Americans, especially popular with farmers, that's where we deposited our money. We deposited our money into mortgages, which allowed us to pay off our farms faster. You hear the stories of our grandfathers and great-grandfathers. Oh, they bought a house and had it paid off in 5 or 10 years. You know, there's a couple reasons for it. One, they were a better generation. They were harder working, more educated, didn't have social media. But they also had a better tool because the mortgage back then was far more efficient than it is today. But all that changed in 1913. So what changed was the institution of the Federal Reserve, which gives banks the ability to execute what's called fractional reserve lending. So for every dollar you put in a bank account, they have $10. So once the banks got a hold of this, their main goal was how do we get more deposits? In one simple change, they made a mortgage a closed-end product instead of an open-end product, which causes you to segregate your income, and it causes you to put money elsewhere into the welcoming hands of the banks. So when you walk into a bank, on the right-hand side, hey, give us your money. We'll pay you 0.17% annual, not daily, on your money. And then look to the left. Anytime you need to borrow your money back from us, we're going to charge you 4%. And we never thought to question that. And we never really thought to investigate it and figure out how do we create our own bank that if we do borrow, we actually borrow from our family bank. And if we actually pay interest, we pay interest to ourselves, tax-free, all without the government and all without the regulation of the government.
So fascinating. You also talked about infinite banking. It's very similar, isn't it? But it deals more with whole life insurance, right? But it's the same idea. You're able to leverage your own money, and it works both ways. You put in, but you can also take out. That's so cool. So how can people learn more about ending this death pledge and shifting over more to a traditionalist way of paying off their homes?
So we have a website, replaceyourmortgage.com. If you go to the website, there's tons of video content on there. We also have a book that you can download. If you download this book, it's also Audible as well. That book will kind of explain the ins and outs of what you need to do from a standpoint of refinancing your mortgage or even buying. A lot of people don't realize that if you're looking at buying a home for the first time or just buying a new home, you don't have to buy it utilizing a mortgage. You can actually step into that transaction in a home equity line of credit, which has a lot of other advantages that we haven't even discussed today. And if you go to YouTube, Replace Your Mortgage, we've got dozens of videos on there that explain all the questions that you may have. You know, what about interest rates going up? Or what about interest rates going down? Is it fixed? Is it variable? We explain all of that there. So if you have any further concerns, then you just book a free consultation with us. So everything is free. Because there's nowhere on our website are we asking anybody for any money. We want to talk to you first because this isn't for everybody. This is for the Americans and patriots that are cash flow positive. They are disciplined. They've already mastered their money from a budget standpoint. This is who this works for. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, nothing's going to work for you, including a mortgage.
Wow. So awesome. So, gang, if you do want to get more and more into this parallel polis, make sure to click on the link below this video. It's going to take you to Mike's website, and you're going to learn all you need to know about the HELOC, and you'll have some contact information where he and his staff can help you through it. Man, wasn't that great? I mean, Michael is helping so many people get out of their federal banking death pledges and bringing real financial flourishing to Americans like you. Don't forget to click on the link below to watch another video from Michael's team about how you can get back your finances and pay off your home. God bless.